Section 42 of the Art of Cookery made plain and easy by Hannah Glasse. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Appendix-Part 1. Observations on preserving salt meat, so as to keep it mellow and fine for 3 or 4 months, and to preserve potted butter. Take care when you salt your meat in the summer, that it be quite cool after it comes from the butcher's. The way is to lay it on cold bricks for a few hours, and when you salt it, lay it upon an inclining board to drain off the blood. Then salt it afresh. Add to every pound of salt half a pound of Lisbon sugar, and turn it in the pickle every day. At the month's end it will be fine. The salt which is commonly used hardens and spoils all the meat. The right sort is that called Lowndes salt. It comes from Nantwich in Cheshire. There is a very fine sort that comes from Maldon in Essex and from Suffolk, which is the reason of that butter being finer than any other. And if everybody would make use of that salt in potting butter, we should not have so much bad come to market, observing all the general rules of a dairy. If you keep your meat long in salt, half the quantity of sugar will do, and then bestow loaf sugar. It will eat much finer. This pickle cannot be called extravagant, because it will keep a great while. At 3 or 4 months' end, boil it up. If you have no meat in the pickle, skim it, and when cold, only add a little more salt and sugar to the next meat you put in, and it will be good a 12-month longer. Take a leg of mutton piece, veiny or thick flank piece, without any bone, pickled as above. Only add to every pound of salt an ounce of saltpetre. After being a month or 2 in the pickle, take it out and lay it in soft water a few hours, then roast it. It eats fine. A leg of mutton or shoulder of veal does the same. It is a very good thing where a market is at a great distance and a large family obliged to provide a great deal of meat. As to the pickling of hams and tongues, you have the receipt in the foregoing chapters, but use either of these fine salts, and they will be equal to any Bayonne hams, provided your porkling is fine and well fed. To make mock turtle soup. Take a calf's head and scald the hair off as you would a pig, and wash it very clean. Boil it in a large pot of water half an hour, then cut all the skin off by itself. Take the tongue out. Take the broth made of a knuckle of veal, put in the tongue and skin, with 3 large onions, half an ounce of cloves and mace, and half a nutmeg beat fine, all sorts of sweet herbs chopped fine, and 3 anchovies. Stew it till tender, then take out the meat, and cut it in pieces about 2 inches square, and the tongue in slices. Mind to skin the tongue. Strain the liquor through a sieve. Take half a pound of butter, and put in the stew pan. Melt it, and put in 1/4 pound of flour. Keep it stirring till it is smooth, then put in the liquor. Keep it stirring till all is in. If lumpy, strain it through a sieve. Then put to your meat a bottle of Madeira wine. Season with pepper and salt and cayenne pepper pretty high. Put in forcemeat balls and egg balls boiled, the juice of 2 lemons. Stew it 1 hour gently, and then serve it up in tureens. Note well, if it is too thick, put some more broth in before you stew it the last time. To dress haddocks after the Spanish way. Take a haddock, washed very clean and dried, and broil it nicely. Then take 1/4 pint of oil in a stew pan, season it with mace, cloves and nutmeg, pepper and salt, 2 cloves of garlic, some love apples when in season, a little vinegar. Put in the fish, Cover it close and let it stew half an hour over a slow fire. Flounders done the same way are very good. To dress haddocks the Jew's way. Take 2 large fine haddocks, wash them very clean, cut them in slices about 3 inches thick and dry them in a cloth. Take a gill either of oil or butter in a stew pan, a middling onion cut small, a handful of parsley washed and cut small. Let it just boil up in either butter or oil, then put in the fish. Season it with beaten mace, pepper and salt, half a pint of soft water. Let it stew softly till it is thoroughly done. Then take the yolks of 2 eggs, beat up with the juice of a lemon, and just as it is done enough, throw it over and send it to table. A Spanish Peas Soup. Take 1 pound of Spanish peas and lay them in water the night before you use them. Then take a gallon of water, 1 quart of fine sweet oil, a head of garlic. Cover the pot close and let it boil till the peas are soft. Then season with pepper and salt. Then beat the yolk of an egg and vinegar to your palate. Poach some eggs, lay on the dish on sippets and pour the soup on them. Send it to table. To make onion soup the Spanish way. Take 2 large Spanish onions, peel and slice them. Let them boil very softly in half a pint of sweet oil till the onions are very soft. Then pour on them 3 pints of boiling water. Season with beaten pepper, salt, a little beaten clove and mace, 2 spoonfuls of vinegar, a handful of parsley washed clean and chopped fine. Let it boil fast a quarter of an hour. In the meantime, get some sippets to cover the bottom of the dish, fried quick, not hard. Lay them in the dish and cover each sippet with a poached egg. Beat up the yolks of 2 eggs and throw over them. Pour in your soup and send it to table. Garlic and sorrel done the same way eats well. Milk soup the Dutch way. Take a quart of milk, boil it with cinnamon and moist sugar. Put sippets in the dish, pour the milk over it and set it over a charcoal fire to simmer till the bread is soft. Take the yolks of 2 eggs, beat them up and mix it with a little of the milk and throw it in. Mix it all together and send it up to table. Fish pasties the Italian way. Take some flour and knead it with oil. Take a slice of salmon, season it with pepper and salt, and dip into sweet oil. Chop an onion and parsley fine, and strew over it. Lay it in the paste, and double it up in the shape of a slice of salmon. Take a piece of white paper, oil it, and lay under the pasty, and bake it. It is best cold, and will keep a month. Mackerel done the same way, head and tail together, folded in a pasty, eats fine. Asparagus dressed the same way. Take the asparagus, break them in pieces, then boil them soft, and drain the water from them. Take a little oil, water, and vinegar. Let it boil, season it with pepper and salt, throw in the asparagus, and thicken with yolks of eggs. Endive done this way is good. The Spaniards add sugar, but that spoils them. Green peas done as above are very good. Only add a lettuce cut small, and 2 or 3 onions, and leave out the eggs. Red cabbage dressed after the Dutch way, good for a cold in the breast. Take the cabbage, cut it small, and boil it soft. Then drain it and put it in a stew pan with a sufficient quantity of oil and butter, a little water and vinegar, and an onion cut small. Season it with pepper and salt, and let it simmer on a slow fire till all the liquor is wasted. Cauliflowers dressed the Spanish way. Boil them, but not too much, then drain them and put them into a stew pan. To a large cauliflower, put 1/4 pint of sweet oil and 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. Let them fry till brown. Then season them with pepper and salt, 2 or 3 spoonfuls of vinegar. Cover the pan very close and let them simmer over a very slow fire an hour. Carrots and French beans dressed the Dutch way. Slice the carrots very thin and just cover them with water. Season them with pepper and salt. Cut a good many onions and parsley small, a piece of butter. Let them simmer over a slow fire till done. Do French beans the same way. Beans dressed the German way. Take a large bunch of onions, peel and slice them, a great quantity of parsley washed and cut small. Throw them into a stew pan with a pound of butter. Season them well with pepper and salt. Put in 2 quarts of beans. Cover them close and let them do till the beans are brown, shaking the pan often. Do peas the same way. Artichoke suckers dressed the Spanish way. Clean and wash them and cut them in halves. Then boil them in water, drain them from the water, and put them into a stew pan with a little oil, a little water, and a little vinegar. Season them with pepper and salt. Stew them a little while, and then thicken them with yolks of eggs. They make a pretty garnish done thus. Clean them and half-boil them, then dry them, flour them, and dip them in yolks of eggs and fry them brown. To dry pears without sugar. Take the Norwich pears, pare them with a knife and put them in an earthen pot and bake them not too soft. Put them into a white plate pan and put dry straw under them, and lay them in an oven after bread is drawn, and every day warm the oven to the degree of heat as when the bread is newly drawn. Within 1 week they must be dry. Ginger tablet. Melt a pound of loaf sugar with a little bit of butter over the fire, and put in an ounce of pounded ginger. Keep it stirring till it begins to rise into a froth, then pour it into pewter plates and let it stand to cool. The platter must be rubbed with a little oil, and then put them in a china dish and send them to table. Garnish with flowers of any kind. Artichokes preserved the Spanish way. Take the largest you can get, cut the tops of the leaves off, wash them well and drain them. To every artichoke pour in a large spoonful of oil. Season with pepper and salt. Send them to the oven and bake them. They will keep a year. Note well, the Italians, French, Portuguese and Spaniards have variety of ways of dressing fish, which we have not, namely, as making fish soups, ragouts, pies, etc. For their soups they use no gravy, nor in their sauces, thinking it improper to mix flesh and fish together, but make their fish soups with fish, especially either of crawfish, lobsters, etc., taking only the juice of them. For example, take your crawfish, tie them up in a muslin rag, and boil them, then press out their juice for the above said use. For their pies. They make some of carp, others of different fish, and some they make like our minced pies. In other words, they take a carp and cut the flesh from the bones and mince it, adding currants, etc. Almond rice. Blanch the almonds and pound them in a marble or wooden mortar, and mix them in a little boiling water. Press them as long as there is any milk in the almonds, adding fresh water every time. To every quart of almond juice, 1/4 pound of rice, and 2 or 3 spoonfuls of orange flower water. Mix them all together and simmer it over a very slow charcoal fire. Keep stirring it often. When done, sweeten it to your palate. Put it into plates and throw beaten cinnamon over it. Sham chocolate. Take a pint of milk, boil it over a slow fire with some whole cinnamon, and sweeten it with Lisbon sugar. Beat up the yolks of 3 eggs. Throw all together into a chocolate pot and mill it one way, or it will turn. Serve it up in chocolate cups. Marmalade of eggs, the Jew's way. Take the yolks of 24 eggs, beat them for an hour. Clarify 1 pound of the best moist sugar, 4 spoonfuls of orange flower water, 1 ounce of blanched and pounded almonds. Stir all together over a very slow charcoal fire, keeping stirring it all the while one way, till it comes to a consistence. Then put it into coffee cups, and throw a little beaten cinnamon on the top of the cups. This marmalade, mixed with pounded almonds, with orange peel and citron, are made in cakes of all shapes, such as birds, fish, and fruit. A cake the Spanish way. Take 12 eggs, 3/4 pound of the best moist sugar, mill them in a chocolate mill till they are all of a lather. Then mix in 1 pound of flour, 1/2 pound of pounded almonds, 2 ounces of candied orange peel, 2 ounces of citron, 4 large spoonfuls of orange water, 1/2 ounce of cinnamon, and a glass of sack. It is better when baked in a slow oven. Another way. Take 1 pound of flour, 1 pound of butter, 8 eggs, 1 pint of boiling milk, 2 or 3 spoonfuls of ale yeast, or a glass of French brandy. Beat all well together, then set it before the fire in a pan where there is room for it to rise. Cover it close with a cloth and flannel, that no air comes to it. When you think it is raised sufficiently, mix 1/2 pound of the best moist sugar, 1 ounce of cinnamon beat fine, 4 spoonfuls of orange flower water, 1 ounce of candied orange peel, 1 ounce of citron, mix all well together and bake it. To dry plums. Take pear plums, fair and clear coloured, weigh them and slit them up the sides. Put them into a broad pan and fill it full of water. Set them over a very slow fire. Take care that the skin does not come off. When they are tender, take them up, and to every pound of plums put a pound of sugar. Strew a little on the bottom of a large silver basin. Then lay your plums in, one by one, and strew the remainder of your sugar over them. Set them into your stove all night with a good warm fire the next day. Heat them, and set them into your stove again, and let them stand 2 days more, turning them every day. Then take them out of the syrup and lay them on glass plates to dry. To make sugar of pearl. Take damask rosewater, 1/2 pint, 1 pound of fine sugar, 1/2 ounce of prepared pearl beat to powder, 8 leaves of beaten gold. Boil them together according to art. Add the pearl and gold leaves when just done, then cast them on a marble. To make fruit wafers of codlins, plums, etc. Take the pulp of any fruit rubbed through a hair sieve, and to every 3 ounces of fruit take 6 ounces of sugar finely sifted. Dry the sugar very well till it be very hot. Heat the pulp also till it be very hot. Then mix it and set over a slow charcoal fire till it be almost a boiling. Then pour it into glasses or trenchers, and set it in the stove till you see it will leave the glasses. But before it begins to candy, turn them on papers in what form you please. You may colour them red with clove-gilly flowers steeped in the juice of lemon. To make white wafers. Beat the yolk of an egg and mix it with 1/4 pint of fair water. Then mix 1/2 pound of best flour and thin it with damask rosewater till you think it of a proper thickness to bake. Sweeten it to your palate with fine sugar finely sifted. To make brown wafers. Take a quart of ordinary cream, Then take the yolks of 3 or 4 eggs and as much fine flour as will make it into a thin batter. Sweeten it with 3/4 pound of fine sugar finely sliced, and as much pounded cinnamon as will make it taste. Do not mix them till the cream be cold. Butter your pans and make them very hot before you bake them. How to dry peaches. Take the fairest and ripest peaches. Pare them into fair water. Take their weight in double refined sugar. Of 1/2 make a very thin syrup. Then put in your peaches, boiling them till they look clear. Then split and stone them. Boil them till they are very tender. Lay them a-draining, take the other half of the sugar and boil it almost to a candy. Then put in your peaches and let them lie all night. Then lay them on a glass and set them in a stove till they are dry. If they are sugared too much, wipe them with a wet cloth a little. Let the first syrup be very thin, a quart of water to a pound of sugar. How to make almond knots. Take 2 pounds of almonds and blanch them in hot water. Beat them in a mortar to a very fine paste with rose water. Do what you can to keep them from oiling. Take a pound of double refined sugar, sifted through a lawn sieve. Leave out some to make up your knots. Put the rest into a pan upon the fire till it is scalding hot. At the same time, have your almonds scalding hot in another pan. Then mix them together with the whites of 3 eggs beaten to froth, and let it stand till it is cold. Then roll it with some of the sugar you left out and lay them in platters of paper. They will not roll into any shape, but lay them as well as you can, and bake them in a cool oven. It must not be too hot, neither must they be coloured. To preserve apricots. Take your apricots and pare them, then stone what you can whole. Then give them a light boiling in a pint of water, or according to your quantity of fruit. Then take the weight of your apricots in sugar, and take the liquor which you boil them in and your sugar, and boil it till it comes to a syrup, and give them a light boiling, taking off the scum as it rises. When the syrup jellies, it is enough. Then take up the apricots and cover them with the jelly, and put cut paper over them, and lay them down when cold. How to make almond milk for a wash. Take 5 ounces of bitter almonds, blanch them and beat them in a marble mortar very fine. You may put in a spoonful of sack when you beat them. Then take the whites of 3 new laid eggs, 3 pints of spring water and 1 pint of sack. Mix them all very well together, then strain it through a fine cloth and put it into a bottle and keep it for use. You may put in lemon or powder of pearl when you make use of it. How to make gooseberry wafers. Take gooseberries before they are ready for preserving. Cut off the black heads and boil them with as much water as will cover them all to mash. Then pass the liquor and all, as it will run, through a hair sieve, and put some pulp through with a spoon, but not too near. It is to be pulped neither too thick nor too thin. Measure it, and to a gill of it take ½ pound of double refined sugar. Dry it, put it to your pulp, and let it scald on a slow fire, not to boil at all. Stir it very well, and then will rise a frothy white scum, which take clear off as it rises. You must scald and skim it till no scum rises, and it comes clean from the pan side. Then take it off and let it cool a little. Have ready sheets of glass very smooth, about the thickness of parchment, which is not very thick. You must spread it on the glasses with a knife very thin, even and smooth, then set it in the stove with a slow fire. If you do it in the morning, at night you must cut it into long pieces with a broad case knife, and put your knife clear under it, and fold it 2 or 3 times over, and lay them in a stove turning them sometimes till they are pretty dry. But do not keep them too long, for they will lose their colour. If they do not come clean off your glasses at night, keep them till next morning. How to make the thin apricot chips. Take your apricots or peaches, pare them and cut them very thin into chips, and take 3/4 of their weight in sugar, it being finely sliced. Then put the sugar and the apricots into a pewter dish, and set them upon coals. And when the sugar is all dissolved, turn them upon the edge of the dish out of the syrup, and so set them by. Keep them turning till they have drank up all the syrup. Be sure they never boil. They must be warmed in the syrup once every day, and so laid out upon the edge of the dish till the syrup be drank. To preserve golden pippins. Take the rind of an orange and boil it very tender. Lay it in cold water for 3 days. Take 2 dozen of golden pippins, pare, core, quarter them, and boil them to a strong jelly, and run it through a jelly bag till it is clear. Take the same quantity of pippins, pare them, and take out the cores. Put 3 pounds of loaf sugar in a preserving pan with 3 half pints of spring water. When it boils, skim it well, and put in your pippins, with the orange rind cut in long, thin slips. Let them boil fast till the sugar is thick and will almost candy. Then put in 3 half pints of pippin jelly, and boil it fast till the jelly is clear. Then squeeze in the juice of a lemon, give it a boil, and put them in pots or glasses with the orange peel. You may use lemon peel instead of orange, but then you must only boil it, not soak it. To preserve grapes. Get some fine grapes, not overripe, either red or white, but very close, and pick all the specked ones. Put them in a jar with 1/4 pound of sugar candy, and fill the jar with common brandy. Tie them down close, and keep them in a dry, cold place. You may do morello cherries the same way. End of section 42.